Hello and welcome to our first in-country video from Mariana Camp here in northwest Madagascar. So I thought for the first video I give you, I'm going to talk to you about setting up a camp. So I'm very lucky in this camp I've decided to work at, in the fact that it was all set up prior to my arrival. I'm simply falling into place as a medic from a previous medic, and we're working as part of a larger organisation who've got other members of staff who manage the camp, manage the food, do all of the other admin stuff. We are luckily here just having to deal with focusing on the medicine. So what do you think we need to think about when we're setting up camps? So the first thing that comes to mind is your location. Obviously you want your location to be easily accessible. So for example here we can drive up to within about 200 meters of the camp, and you want it to be accessible to what you're meant to be studying or your goals of your expedition. So the goals here are obviously to research things like trees, lemurs and invertebrates. So here deep in the jungle, we've got access to all of this within about a 5 to 10 minute walk. Other things you want to think about when you're considering location is you obviously want your area to be quite flat. A flat site makes it easier to set up tents. It means less risk of people tripping over and hurting themselves. And it just makes for a much more enjoyable place to be. You need to be thinking about water. Is there going to be a chance of flooding in the area? Is it likely to get muddy underfoot? And all of this sort of stuff. You need to be thinking about shade. You ideally want your camp to be in a nice shaded area, because then you're protected from the elements such as rain, you're protected from the elements such as wind, and it means that you can get some time away from the sun. Other sort of things you need to be thinking about when you're setting up camp is what equipment and what amenities are you going to need? Are you going to need to have someone to cook food? Are you going to be there for just one night, or are you going to be here for a couple of weeks? Because all of these will lead to having slightly different necessities on your camp location. So here in this camp, it was all set up prior to us getting here. It's got buildings for medics room, it's got scientific buildings, it's got buildings for kitchens, it's got buildings for mess rooms in essence, and it's got toilet blocks. We've got about approximately maybe tents here for approximately maybe 100 students at one time. There's a team of staff here, including myself, as well as a number of local staff and guides who come in and do all the day-to-day running of the camp. Most of us here are staying in tents. Some of us have decided to sleep in hammocks. It's totally up to you how you wish to go ahead when you're setting up a camp. You just got to think about what's going to make it most comfy for you. Other things you need to be thinking about is wildlife. For example, we've got a lot of dogs in the local area, some of which may contain things like rabies. So it's just making sure you're in an area which you can try and push away some of the native wildlife. For example, polar bears, dogs, or anything like that which could cause you issues. Another thing you need to think about when you're setting up your camp is your toilets, etc. But I'll cover that in a later video where we focus in on wash. We're luckily here, we have got some form of electricity. We've got generators and solar panels. They're not on 24/7, they're only on for a couple hours a day, but it gives us a chance to charge up our devices. It gives the scientists a chance to record all the information, do the microscopy and so forth, all of which are vital going forward. So that's me talk quite a lot about things I think about when I'm setting up a camp. There's a huge amount of other things you can think about, but that's just sort of the key things you need to be aware of. The good thing I would say from the medical side of things is you'd want to be able to have somewhere you can have private conversations with people, as well as storing your medication. As well, ideally, we always want to be able to lock up medication behind a closed door. So I think I've spoken enough about the general setup, so I think I'd better show you around camp now. So starting off, we have my medical room. I'll give you a proper tour of this at some time later. But for now, just know all my medication is in there. Got my own hammock, thankfully, which I've set up with a mosquito net. And then I've got the medic's tent, as well as a second tent in case there's any students or members of staff who need to be isolated from everyone else. Going around the rest of the camp, you've got a science room in there, which all the locals here and our dissertation students can store their library books, and they can record all of their data. I've decided not to show you any of the guys currently making faces at me in the background. Going around the rest of the camp, you've got all the tents for everyone to stay in. In the background over there, you can see the toilet block, which we mainly focus in on just keeping for going for a pee. Other locations we've got for number 2s, and that allows us to separate different waste to make it easier to process. As you can see, far more tents as far as you can see for about 100 people. And in the background, you can see our emergency vehicle. Going around further, we've got a couple of shops in the local area, just so if people want to get some extra types of food, it makes life a lot nicer and it gives you some home comforts. Going further around, you've got our kitchen. We try and keep as many people away from the kitchen as possible, and we try and keep it just for the kitchen staff, because A, it gives them some privacy, and B, it means people can't get hurt and take food that they don't necessarily need. In the background over here, we've also got our generators, which is what gives us power in the local area. Going around further, in here we have got our mess room. In the mess room, it's where all the food gets eaten, we do our lectures, and you spend your free time. So this is the room where most people spend most of their time. Obviously, we try and make sure everyone's nice and comfortable with tea, coffee, etc. So that's just a very quick overview of the camp we're currently at, and I'll show you more, and I'll show you the second camp in the near future.